Hey, Greg Scallan here with the Prospect Times in Oklahoma City at the Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark. I'm here covering the Sounds. I have a couple of special guests with me here. We have Jeff Him, play-by-play announcer for the Sounds, and joining us today is Alex Freedman, play-by-play announcer for the Dodgers. Guys, I know y'all are very busy. Thank you for being here and talking to me for a few minutes today.
Happy to do it.
Of course.
So, radio. Okay, so how important is it to you guys to tell a story while you're on the radio, knowing that there's listeners out there for the ball game? I mean, radio is kind of was an old school way of listening to a ball game. Lots of technology now, internet, TV. Obviously, you two guys are the best in the business. Jeff, how important is it to you to paint that picture for your listeners?
Well, I think most of the audience, even though MILB.TV uses video for home games, so like tonight Alex can have viewers watching the game while they're hearing his audio, I think the majority of the audience is only on the radio or listening on an app where they're not seeing the game. So to me, I mean, that's kind of the foundation of the job, is just making sure that people know what's happening in the game, feel like they're there, try to make them want to be at the next game if they're not at that current game. And as far as actually telling a story, I think the season itself kind of unfolds as a story sometimes, and especially at AAA where the rosters just change so much. You're always kind of introducing new guys to your audience and your fan base, and so there's usually no shortage of stories to tell, just because the names change so much and guys are coming and going and you don't always know how long they're going to be there. But at the end of the day, regardless of who's on the roster, I want people to follow the Sounds, come to Sounds games, and feel like they're really getting a sense of who the team is and how they're playing.
Yeah, Alex?
Yeah, just to echo a lot of what Jeff said, and I think so many people these days, they're not sitting on their porch listening to the radio. They're not in their car listening to the radio. Most of our audience, I would imagine, is getting the content on their phone or their tablet or what have you through all the different various apps that they have, and they're likely probably doing other things because you have a game every single night and so over the course of a few hours. So there probably aren't too many people who are just sitting there right next to their phone or watching the computer on MILB TV. There are going to be some people who are like that, as Jeff pointed out, the differences of those viewers and others. But for me, my thing is you have to focus on what's happening right now. More than anything else. I think some people sometimes might try and shoehorn certain stories in when they might not be relevant to the game at hand. And like Jeff said, there's a lot of different players, a lot of great stories. That is kind of one of the benefits of all the different roster turnover that we have, is you get to meet a lot of different people. And for the Dodgers organization, I'm sure with the Rangers as well, so many different roving instructors and coaches that are in town, really gives you a chance to learn a lot and share that with the audience.
And then random guys that show up to do articles for websites. So this is my first year in writing articles for a fan site. I've always been a Rangers fan. I've been here twice this year now with the Sounds, covering the Sounds. And one of the things I've noticed with both of you guys, you're one-man shows in your booth. And so whereas on a major league level, what a lot of fans may not know is they've got people feeding them information and stats and color commentary and whatnot. You guys do it all. And not only do you do it all, you're tweeting out at the same time, and as things are coming in, information's coming in. I mean, obviously experience helps you guys with that, but do you find it difficult sometimes to keep up with everything as you're going?
Occasionally, but Alex and I both have been doing this a number of years where it's just the way it's usually been. I've had a few games over the years where I've had somebody with me, but I'm so used to doing the game by myself that it's just become part of it and normal now, and so, but it is, you do have to kind of remind yourself sometimes that you're not just the play-by-play guy. You need to provide a little bit of the analysis too, or at least what you think is what happened or could happen in the game, in addition to saying just what is happening. You have to try to provide as much of the why as the what, so you kind of play both roles a little bit, but I think anybody who works in this business is used to wearing multiple hats. It's just part of the way it is, and we all just kind of adapt to the role that we have and roll with it.
Yeah, there'd be ideal times where I'd love to have a stats person be able to hand me something right away. Sometimes I might have to wait until an inning's over to calculate something. I'm sure Jeff knows we prepare a lot of stuff that might not get used. You need to have a lot of stuff ready just in the event that it is significant and plays a role at a certain point of the game, but you might not need it in the end. So just being over-prepared in a sense, I think, is a big thing, again, because you are working by yourself, and then you never know what kind of technical issues might flare up. Sometimes it happens. Fortunately, not a whole lot, at least as far as our broadcasters goes, but sometimes you have to do things on the fly, and again, just being kind of by yourself, engineering the whole thing. For me, cutting highlights every day, also recording interviews. I tell you, it's fun. Obviously, the job is fun first and foremost, but it is a lot of work, that goes behind it every single game.
So obviously, you're baseball fans. You have to be to do a good job, obviously, to do what you guys do. How exciting is it for y'all to watch players come up through the system, get that shot in the major? At the AAA level here, you see more players get that shot in the major leagues and be successful. I know following Jeff closely that when a player goes up, or even players that used to play for the Sounds in different organizations, when they go up, you give them a shout out and whatnot. How exciting is that to see them go up and then be successful on that level? Definitely, especially recently with the Dodgers, have so many prospects go up and really help the team and get into the World Series.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I tell people that when you work this job, of course, we all grew up as fans of a certain team, most likely, but when you work in this job, you become a fan of people, not necessarily teams anymore. And of course, we support our parent club organizations, but it's the people you meet along the way. And you mentioned a lot of the different players, and yeah, fortunately for us this year, it was kind of weird. Last year, there were only 2 players from our team that made their major league debut, and then this year we've had 6 or 7 who've all had significant impacts as part of a really good season for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it's a great place. We go back to your thing about storytelling. That's certainly a story of the season that Jeff brought out, that, as it unfolds, that's one of the ones for the Oklahoma City Dodgers this year, seeing not only who steps up on the big league level, who's going to be that guy hitting the walk-off home run. Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, they go on, make great starts. So it's been a lot of fun to watch, like you said, and I think also guys that might be in other organizations that you root for and want to be able to see. And if they're a former Oklahoma City player, they don't necessarily have to be with the Dodgers to be able to want to talk about them and incorporate how they're doing, if they're having a great season, or if it's someone who took a long time to make their major league debut. And the same goes with coaches too. We've had a few coaches who have come through the system who are now coaching at the big league level, and that's always great to see too.
Like a Willie Calhoun, who was with the Dodgers
and
with the Rangers, and now he's making his mark with the parent club. Jeff?
I think seeing guys go up to the big leagues is one of the best parts of the job. I mean, I think one of the benefits that guys in my shoes and Alex's shoes in this role get is just seeing some of the behind the scenes of just how much work it takes for these guys to get up there and how good they are. Even the guys who never get up there, when they get to AAA ball, they've been weeded out by that time in the minor league world, and they're the elite of the elite. So it's a really small percentage of guys who become everyday big leaguers, and so it's just seeing the work that's put in and what it means to them to go up. I think it's one of the great parts of the job, and because we're all here well before first pitch, and so you see the guys out there hours before the game taking grounders, or they're in the cage, or they're in the training room trying to get healthy. I mean, what these guys go through and put themselves through physically with the demands of the schedule is pretty incredible, and that's where baseball just becomes such a unique sport compared to the others. It's day after day after day, and to see these guys get up there, whether they're going to be up for a day or 10 years or somewhere in between, that's one of the coolest parts. And you mentioned that I do try to highlight former Sounds, because I think part of the AAA world in our respective markets is reminding the fan base, because you get a lot of casual fans who might come to the games and not really follow it all that closely. I will never turn down any chance to kind of remind those fans of what they're watching, and validating what AAA baseball is and how good these guys are. And so, if I'm talking about a Prince Fielder or a Don Mattingly or some of these guys who are some of the all-time great Sounds, even if it's decades ago, people know those names because of what the guy went on to do. So it's as much about talking about some of the former guys as the future big leaguers, because then it gives that listener or that fan a frame of reference of like, oh wow, I didn't realize he played for you guys, and yeah, he was a long-time guy, he was a big league all-star. It's like, yeah, you're seeing a lot of those guys when you come watch our game. You just may not know them as a household name yet, but that doesn't mean they won't become one somewhere down the line.
Gotcha. So just a few more things. So the season's winding down, got a couple of weeks left. Plans for the off season, Alex?
Oh gosh, I really haven't even thought about that far ahead right now. It's nothing really big on my calendar. I'm not like Jeff, who's got a family and all that stuff. So no, it's just I work with a couple local colleges doing their men's and women's basketball, and planning on doing that again. But outside of that, right after the season ends, probably take a few days off, and I know I'll be bored after 3-4 days after the season's over. But yeah, I know. I'm sorry, it's not a very exciting answer now.
Pretty similar. I do a little bit of other sports announcing wise in the off season. I'll reintroduce myself to my wife and kids. Enjoy getting to take them to school in the morning and do normal dad stuff. And like Alex, I'll take a few days off after the year to kind of reestablish my outside of baseball life. But kind of like Alex said, we love what we do, even though it's a lot of work. And so at the end of the day, the in-season is what we live for, even though it will wear on you. And when it's over, you're at least briefly relieved that it's over. It won't take long before we all start already thinking about 2020. It's always like the schedules are already coming out for 2020, and it's just like, wait a minute now, we got 2 weeks of 19 left, so let's hold it a little bit here.
Well, guys, thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. Alex, tell everybody how they can find you on Twitter and listen to you.
Oh yeah, AZ Freedman, AZFreedman, at AZ Freedman on Twitter, and then our radio station is 1340 AM The Game, locally in Oklahoma City at 1340thegame.com, or through the iHeartRadio app or MILB app.
And of course, you can search on Twitter for OKC Dodgers also. Jeff?
Same thing for the apps. If people want to catch the broadcast, NashvilleSounds.com as well. I'm on Twitter at JeffHemPBP, standing for play-by-play. I always have to really enunciate those letters, but that's where they can find me on Twitter.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.